What's going on, everybody? Coming to you from the Vitamin D studios here in beautiful, sunny Florida. Actually, it's miserable outside right now. It's just raining and freezing cold. Anyways, enough about that. There's nothing to be done outside, so I decided I'll take this time to go ahead and do another gear review. This review actually comes as a request from the last video I did. If you haven't seen it and you're curious, check it out. It was a rundown of the gear that I ended up getting off of the Appalachian Trail with after more than 6 months of hiking. It wasn't really a review. Like I said, it's just more of like a rundown of the gear that I had when I got off the trail. So if you're interested, check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description. But this did come as a request from that video to go over my sleeping bag. And I understand if you're watching this video, you're probably planning a through hike, or you're in the market for a new sleeping bag, and this is most likely the 476th sleeping bag review you've watched in the last 30 days. So I'll do my best to keep it somewhat interesting. I mean, there's not going to be any drone footage or anything. That's because my drone's in the shop. Actually, I don't have a drone. I did ask for one for Christmas though, and nobody got me one, so that didn't work out. Thanks, friends. Anyways, I'm already getting off track. I'm going to try to keep this video from getting too long. My videos tend to get about 3 times as long as I initially planned for them to be, so let's get right into it. This is the bag here. The first thing I want to talk about is how I came to decide on this particular bag over another sleeping bag for the trail. And the biggest thing that I had to consider was weight. I wanted something that was lightweight as possible, but still functional. And it doesn't always work out, going with the lightest weight option, because it's not always as functional as you need for it to be. But in this case, it worked out really well. This is pretty much the lightest weight sleeping bag I was able to find in the 20-degree range. And I feel like I nailed it. It was the perfect bag for the Appalachian Trail. I started in early March, so I saw some cold temperatures, and then I was hiking through Virginia in the middle of the summer, and I saw some extremely warm temperatures, and I ended up with this bag the whole hike. Well, I did send it home, so I didn't have it for like a week or two out of Damascus. I told that story in my last video. I'm not going to tell it again. But I did get the bag back, and so I pretty much had it for the entire hike, over 6 months. But, I started by considering weight, found this bag, and I, had to do a little more research from there. And then the next question I had was, do I go with a down bag or a synthetic bag? And the difference is, down is actual goose down feathers, from geese. And synthetic is synthetic. It's, just a material that's, made to fill the sleeping bag and insulate and everything like that. It's not really feathers. I gotta be honest, I was a little bit nervous to go with a true down sleeping bag. I've never owned any backpacking gear that's real down before buying this bag. And the reason that I was nervous about it was because you never want to get a down sleeping bag, puffy jacket, anything like that wet, because it completely loses its insulating value. So it's not going to keep you warm at all. Now with synthetic, generally it'll keep you a little bit warmer, if it's wet. And the main reason for that is because it's actually the air that gets trapped between the feathers or the synthetic material that insulates you, that keeps you warm, helps retain your body heat. Now with the down feathers, they have a tendency when they get wet to kind of clump up together, and then you have all these areas that it's just completely flat, and trust me, this super lightweight material is not going to keep anything warm. Whereas the synthetic, usually it's strung together a little bit better so that it doesn't really clump up. If you're wondering why you would even consider down, with that said, 2 main reasons. With true down, you're almost always going to get a much lighter weight, and depending on the sort of the fill of the down, the size that it packs down to is also a big factor. This bag packs down really small, and it's extremely lightweight. Now, a 20-degree synthetic sleeping bag is going to take up a lot more pack space, and it's not going to pack down anywhere near as much. Sorry about that. By the way, today's beverage of choice, we'll just say it's water. I can't have y'all thinking that all I do is drink beer and talk about the AT. So today's installment will be completely rated G. It's water, trust me. Anyways, so getting back to the synthetic versus down, like I said, I was a little bit apprehensive about getting a true down bag. And then the other thing to consider when you're considering synthetic versus down is your puffy jacket. The puffy jacket I carried was actually synthetic. It was the North Face Thermoball, I think is what it's called, which was a great jacket. However, for some reason I thought that I'd be hiking with it on, so I was nervous that if it was misting out or whatever, that, it would get wet and I'd have problems, but I never once hiked with that jacket on, and most people don't. I mean, some people do, but the vast majority of people will never hike with their puffy jacket on. And the main reason for that is because once you get hiking, you're going to generate so much body heat that it's unnecessary to have a jacket on. And if you have anything on, usually it's like a rain shell, and that typically does a good job of retaining body heat and breaking the wind. So anyways, I never once even hiked with my puffy jacket. And now that I've had my experience with this sleeping bag, to be completely honest with you, I would be confident in buying a true down jacket for a long distance hike. I honestly would, because it really worked out well. Now you're going to want to do your best, whether your bag is down or synthetic, to keep it dry at all times, regardless. Because even with synthetic, and they make like this, it's more hydrophobic and water repellent, and they call it like dry down and all this stuff. It's supposed to do better, but still, unless it's completely dry, it's not going to have its full potential. So anyways, for the AT, I selected the 20 degree option, and that seemed to be the most popular one out on the trail, and I'm really glad I did. It seemed to work out really well. There was only a few nights on the trail that I actually got so cold that I had trouble sleeping. It was more than 6 months of hiking, so I can't get too wound up about only a few nights. Sort of isolated incidents. Usually I was up on a ridge line. There would be a lot of wind. I'd get like a draft through the tent. I was cold. Now, I do sleep pretty warm. I'm a big guy. That goes without saying. So I do sleep pretty warm. So you may want to adjust, the degree of the bag you select based on what I tell you. Just keep that in mind. But this bag, being 20 degree rating, kept me comfortable down to about 20 degrees. With that said, I did, in 20 degree temperatures, always have like thermal base layers on, which would be like long johns, a thermal top, sometimes my puffy jacket if it was, 20 degrees or cooler. And then, it kept me pretty comfortable down to 20 degrees. When it got down into the teens and single digits, with wind, it was not comfortable. But like I said, that was only a few nights the whole time I was on the trail, so it would not at all be worth switching down to a 0 degree bag or anything like that for me, just on account of a couple nights. So this bag is more of like a quilt style bag. It's not like your traditional sleeping bag or what a lot of people have, which is a mummy style bag that comes all the way up and over like your head, and it just allows your nose and mouth to kind of be out. But it's designed to actually come up to like your ears. Zpacks does sell, if your head tends to get cold, they do sell like this goose down. It's pretty much the same material as the bag, but it's like a hat that completely encapsulates your head with the exception of like your nose and your mouth. So if you run cold, that's something that you could consider. You'd look pretty ridiculous if you walked around town in the thing, but I'm pretty sure it's functional. It looks like it is anyways. But I was always comfortable enough just with a beanie that I bought from Zpacks as well. That did good to keep my head and my ears warm enough, with this coming up to, my ears. Now, you don't want your sleeping bag, especially one like this, you don't want it to come all the way over your head. You don't want to be sleeping in it like that. And the main reason for that is, it's the reason why mummy bags kind of have that relief for your face, is that if you're warm and you're breathing inside that bag and it's cold outside, well, your warm breath is going to create condensation inside the bag. And then you've got a wet sleeping bag. on a cold night, that's a horrible combination. It can be a downright dangerous combination. You just don't want that at all. So, figure out a system so that you can, keep at least your nose and your mouth outside of the bag so you're not, like I said, breathing in, creating condensation, getting your bag wet while you sleep, and then you wake up and you've got a problem. Do whatever works for you. A couple of features of this bag. Now, when I bought this, I bought it in late 2016. It wasn't like a super standard thing to get the zipper to come all the way down to this last baffle. I highly recommend that you buy the version like this. Now they have it so that you can just order it like this, which I really, really enjoyed. And the biggest reason for that is because I kept it the entire time I was on the trail, and that ran a huge gamut of temperatures. So I really appreciated this in the summer. Their standard bag is a 3/4 zip, so it was probably about that much is just permanently closed off and the rest of it zips up. I don't see why you wouldn't just go for the more versatile option to where you can zip it all the way down. Worst case scenario, if you really want it here, just zip it up to here. That's my 2 cents on it. I really enjoyed it because in the summertime, I was able to leave it pretty wide open and just drape it across me. And on the really warm nights, I would just sleep on top of it. It doesn't matter what summer bag you had. I was hot with nothing on, so that's why I didn't, carry like a specific summer bag, because this was so small and so light that it really wasn't worth switching out. Now, if you have a heavier bag for the winter, a bigger, heavier synthetic bag, then yeah, it may behoove you to go with like a 40 or 50 degree bag through the summertime. But if you buy this bag, I'd recommend just keeping it through the entire hike because it works. And like I said, get it to where it zips almost all the way down. And I really like the way this foot box works to keep a little bit of a foot box. Now, there's another company out there that makes similar sleeping bags that they make it to where you have to tie it together. I don't know, it clips together, and it just seems like too much work. This just stays the way it is, which is ideal to me. And the main reason for this is in the middle of the night when you're sleeping, if you wake up and you kind of don't know where your bag is. Well, as long as you could find this foot box and put your feet in here, you could kind of pull it up and you could orient exactly where this was on your body. You knew exactly what direction the bag was in. You didn't have to try to figure out, is it vertical or horizontal or whatever. You could just easily get it put back together. I know that sounds trivial, but it made a huge difference for me. So I do recommend going with the longer zipper. Now, it does have like a clasp up here at the top, once you zip it all the way up, if you wanted to get it, I would always have it pretty much like, coming up to my ears and then down like right below my mouth. And you could clasp it off, and this helps keep the zipper in place up at the top. So it does have a clasp. And then sort of right here in the center, there's a drawstring. So you could draw it down, and you can see you could kind of cinch it right over your head. So that worked out really well, and you can lock the drawstring in place. Now, the bag Zpacks sells now are a little bit different than this. So some of the features may be a little different. Like I said, I bought this in late 2016, so it's hard to tell what exactly has changed, but it's similar enough. You should get some benefit out of this review. But I really liked this bag. It served me well. I'm glad that I selected this bag. I'm glad that I pulled the trigger on a real down bag. Yeah, they are expensive. This bag is north of $400, but it's well worth it in my opinion for a long distance hike like the Appalachian Trail. So, there's only so much I can say about a sleeping bag. It's blue. It works. They make it in green. Maybe they make it in other colors. I don't know. It just seems to be a really good bag. Now, today, got something for you. It's 2 for 1. Not even charging extra for this. I'm actually not charging anything because this is YouTube. But I've never washed this bag, so I figured if I'm going to do an overview or a review of it, I might as well show you the process of washing it. But like I said, I've never done it. This bag has more than 7 months with other hikes worth of just filth built into it. So it definitely needs wash. So, and like I said, I've never done it, so this is going to be interesting. I'll go ahead and take you along. So Before I do that, I do want to tell you about washing it with True Down. Something that you got to keep in mind is if you're going to use a detergent, and Zpacks on their website actually says that water should be sufficient. However, this thing's nasty enough that I'm going to use a detergent. Now, I bought this detergent here on Amazon. I'll put a link to this in the description if you're looking for it. But it's a detergent that's designed specifically for down. So I'm going to use that as I clean it. And I also want to show you real quick, before I clean it, just how small it packs down to. It's pretty impressive. All right, this is how small this thing packs down to. So I wish you could feel it if you've never felt, the weight of one of these. It's just silly light. It's really nice. Now it does come when you buy it in this Cuban fiber dry bag. Zpacks ships it in that. When you store your sleeping bag when you're not on the trail with a down bag, you do want to keep it out of this stuff sack. You want to, let the down sort of loft, because it will degrade with time if it's always compressed. But it compacts down into an impressive little package. So there you have it. Now let's go get this thing cleaned up. Alright, so I'm getting ready to wash my sleeping bag, and you need to use a special detergent to do this, and the reason for that is because if you use like a normal detergent, it's going to strip the natural oils off of those goose down feathers, and that's not good. It's going to lose its insulating properties, things like that. You can't be having that, so you do need to get a specific detergent for washing real down. I picked this up. It's called Down Wash Direct. Got it on Amazon. I'll put a link to it in the description. It smells pretty good. It says to add, let's see here, 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters to 3 or 4 gallons of water. I've got at least double that in the bathtub right now, so I'll put probably half of this bottle, because this bottle is 10 ounces, which is 300 milliliters. So I think that'll be about right. Now, they do, on the Zpacks website, say that usually water is sufficient. Now, I've got 6 or 7 months worth of filth on that sleeping bag, so I'm going to use a detergent, and I'm going to use one specific for down. So we'll go ahead and use that. I'm going to go ahead and add it to the water. Now, time to add the sleeping bag. Now, this is a trick that I learned when I was counseling ghetto youths in a third world country on a mission trip, or on the Zpacks website under washing instructions. One or the other. Let's not get caught up in details. But anyways, most of the air has been evacuated out of this sleeping bag now that it's in the stuff sack. So I'm going to go ahead and open it while underwater in order to keep a whole bunch of air from getting into the bag. It'll keep it kind of submerged so that it can actually soak. All right, so per the instructions on the down detergent, I'm going to go ahead and allow this to soak for 10 to 15 minutes. Then I'm going to come back, agitate a little bit more, and then I'm going to rinse it out. It says to rinse it out basically until the water runs clear. Guessing that may take a little bit of time. This thing's got about 6-7 months worth of, probably more than that, even more than that, worth of crud on it. So I'll be back. Man, I'm getting old. All right. So, got about a half of a beer worth, half of a water worth of time. I drank half of a water. Now I'm back. I'm going to agitate this for a while and then go ahead and rinse it out, and then we'll worry about drying it. So, I'll see you in a minute. Alright, so since it's raining outside, I'm going to have to do something a little bit different to get this sleeping bag dried. And what I've come up with is not something that's necessarily recommended by the manufacturer, is that I'm going to put it on the spin cycle in the washing machine. That way it can kind of wring out some of the excess moisture. You just saw, I squeezed out as much as I can, but I feel like putting it on the spin cycle, for a little while should help out, to get a little more moisture out of it. And then I'm going to hang it over the shower curtain to complete, its drying. So now the washing machine I'll be using does not have an agitator in the center of it. It is a top loading one, but it's similar to like the front loading ones that don't have an agitator, so I don't feel like there's anything in there that can really, tear it up. I mean, I hope not anyways. We'll find out, but I think it'll work, so I'm going to give it a shot. Alright, now that my bag's nice and clean, I've got it hanging over the shower rod in the bathroom. Decided I'd go ahead and give you my final thoughts. If you can't tell already, I really like that sleeping bag. Would I recommend it to a friend? Yes, absolutely. I actually have. I've got friends that have bought that bag because I've recommended it. I never once on that trail felt like I wanted a different sleeping bag, no matter what the temperatures or anything were, with the exception of a couple nights. Those nights, though, to be completely honest, I could have had a 0-degree bag and probably still been pretty cold. But it's a great bag. I never felt like it wasn't sufficient or that I wanted any other bag. I never met anybody on the trail with that bag, that felt like they would rather have a different bag. Everybody, it was just universally loved, by me as well. So to be 100% honest with you, if something were to happen to that sleeping bag, I would buy the exact same one again to replace it. So take that for what it is. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, do all that. If you have any recommendations for any other videos, let me know. I'm sure I can make that happen. I don't do this for me. Obviously, I know this gear. I carried it for more than 6 months. But I did find these types of videos extremely useful when I was, doing research and putting my gear together, for an AT hike. So anyways, if you want to see more, let me know. I'll see you in the next video.